All right. Hello,
Hey,
everybody. We are streaming live on our Facebook group for parents and families of UMKC students. Hopefully, I set this up correctly. Give me a moment. My name is Kim Kushner. For those of you who do not know me, yep, we are streaming. Yay, it's streaming as me again, whatever. My name is Kim Kushner, and I serve as our Assistant Director of New Student and Family Programs in our Office of Student Involvement, which is within the Division of Student Affairs. Um, and we're really, really excited to have you as a part of our Family Week celebrations this week. With everything kind of going on, we kind of relooked at Family Weekend and decided to move it to a week-long celebration, a week-long opportunity for resource sharing, for meeting faculty, staff, supporters who care about you all as our parents, families, and supporters who care about your students and who want them to succeed. And this session is especially timely given that a lot of y'all in the Facebook group have really been sharing feedback that your students are struggling, that you're trying to help them with academics, with their mental and physical well-being, with getting set for the middle of the semester, starting to think about breaks, how to just, best practices. It's week 6, week 7, October is really hard regardless, and just with the move to online learning and with just everything going on, there's just a lot that our students and our family members are thinking about and really struggling through. So today we are going to introduce our panelists momentarily. We encourage you to use the Facebook Live chat if you have any questions. We definitely want to address and can address live. I think this is the beauty of being virtual. So I'm going to remove my spotlight and allow for us to get started.
Thanks, Kim. Well, welcome everybody, either online or however you're finding us. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Teresa Huff-Palmstra. I serve as one of the clinicians for counseling services at UMKC, and I also serve as the outreach coordinator. And so I have the delight of being able to help put together events like this, events across campus, just ways to sort of promote wellness, mental health wellness, and prevention among students at UMKC. So today what we're going to do, pretty simple, is I've asked some of my colleagues here to just prepare just a few minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes about maybe some tips or some ideas or some things that they feel like would be helpful for you all to know as family, as parents, even may have some students who are logging in too. Just some things that they can maybe help encourage you in terms of your mental health, your physical health and well-being, how to support your student, or how to support yourself during this time, especially given the COVID situation, given a lot of social justice issues that we're going to be, that have been sort of occurring in our society. So yeah, so I'm going to let each one of them kind of introduce themselves, and we're going to kind of go from there. So I'm going to go in the order that I see people. So just for a little continuity. So Carolyn, why don't you go first, just with your introduction?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Carolyn Pepper. I'm the Associate Director at UMKC Counseling Services, and there I oversee our training department, and I also serve as the assessment coordinator and oversee all the psychodiagnostic testing that we do.
Awesome, thanks. Obi, why don't you go next?
Good afternoon, all. My name is Obi Austin. I'm the Director of Student Health and Wellness. We are the department down the stairs or down the street from counseling, working in collaboration to make sure that you guys stay physically and mentally healthy. I look forward to this chat with you all.
Great, and then Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Loren. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Disability Services. We are located in between counseling and student health. Our office serves students with disabilities that need academic accommodation similar to special education in K through 12.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. Given Scott has some other demands on his schedule today, I'm going to have Scott go first. And then if anybody in the audience does have questions, please take advantage of the chat. If you happen to come into the room, take advantage of maybe the hand raising feature. And any questions for Scott, we're going to go ahead and get addressed right after he speaks. So Scott, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Thank you, Teresa. As I was saying, we provide academic accommodations for students with disabilities. Basically, our process is that a student would fill out an application, which is online. They would provide documentation of their disability. That would be a letter from their doctor, the counselor, et cetera, detailing their disability, explaining its impact for us. And then we would talk with the student. We would meet with them via Zoom meeting to discuss ways that we could support that student. So what is a disability? A lot of people think about a disability in terms of maybe somebody with a visual impairment or who uses a wheelchair or someone who's deaf. But disability is fairly wide ranging. It could be a health condition that is flares up every once in a while. Common disabilities like that would be migraines, sickle cell anemia, um, other health conditions that impact an individual's ability to participate in school. We also, disabilities might be depression, anxiety. Even if it's relatively moderate, it can be debilitating, and we would work with the student to be supportive of them. The accommodations that we provide, common accommodations might be some extra time on exam, a little bit of flexibility in attendance or assignment due dates, maybe a peer note taker, another student taking a set of notes if they have difficulty getting a good set of notes of their own. All of our services are free, and all that we need is an application and documentation of their disability from a medical professional. So I'm going to leave it there and see if there are any questions for me at this point in time.
Scott, for a minute you went mute just because we were letting somebody in. So the last maybe like 30 seconds of whatever you just said, just your conclusion if you want to rephrase. Oh. He continues to mute himself.
Mute. Okay.
Yeah.
So
try
can
again.
you hear me now?
We'll try again. There we go. Third time's a charm. Third time's a charm.
So our services are free. And we're available. I'm available to answer any questions that people might have right now, or if you want, you can always reach out to me. I can be reached at 816-235-5696. That's 235-5696. Or you can email me at laurentr, that's LAURENTR @umkc.edu. Do you see any questions coming up?
Not currently. But folks, also, when we finish this Facebook Live, I'll put some additional in the comments of this video. I'll add our presenters' names. I'll add their contact information as well as the website to learn more, because there are really some fantastic parent and family and supporter resources on each of our panelists' sites that I go to quite regularly and just kind of see what the best way to really advocate for what they have. So yes, nothing right now. And welcome, we've got some folks who just kind of came into our Zoom room. So if you have any questions, feel free to use our chat here to our folks joining and or again, just continue to use Facebook Live. So thanks, Scott. All right, I'll get back to Teresa for introducing the next folks.
Scott, if you give just one more minute, I was wondering if maybe, I think sometimes in these situations, people aren't sure what to ask, and maybe there might be some hesitancy in asking for accommodations or even seeking this out. Sometimes that term disability can have that sort of stigma around it. What maybe could you speak to that in terms of encouraging folks, either the student or maybe the student's family, in terms of seeking out those accommodations if they're needed?
Well, I think that if there's some concern, if there's any hesitance, here's a couple of pieces of information I think it's important. to have. First is that our efforts are confidential. We never share with the professor what the disability is, just that there's a disability and that these are the accommodations. We don't provide that information to other students, or, you know, it doesn't become a part of their academic record. The second is the student is in control of whether they use the accommodations or not. Let's say that somebody might think in terms of, well, you know, I really struggle with math, but I don't need the extra time on exams and in my other classes. And sometimes I feel comfortable not using extra time for an exam. Well, that would be up to the student, and they could sort of control that. It gives them the tools that they need to succeed, while not necessarily kind of making it a process that's going to get out of their control. So I would encourage them, if nothing else, just reach out to me, and you can ask questions, and, you know, I'm glad to help out in any way I can. I saw something on the chat. How can we encourage our kids to ask teachers to explain something or to try to seek out a tutor in chemistry? Well, I would say my experience with the professors is that they are very interested in hearing from students, particularly in our chemistry department. They will gladly explain, and so encourage them that being connected with professors is very helpful, that oftentimes students will have this sort of a view of the professor as like up there and out there, and they're very approachable. They want to know, what are you struggling with, so that, you know, in terms of content, so that they can address that. Usually, I'll touch on that in a minute. Usually there will be something in the syllabi that will explain what tutoring resources. We have supplemental instruction, we have academic support and mentoring, and all of that will be in the syllabus usually, and a student can just go there and get those resources. Question is, are professors required to implement all accommodations? If the student asks them not to, for example, right now we're in the process of changing to a new system, but our current system, we kind of write one letter and it'll say a student, maybe it'll say a student gets extra time on exams and the assistance of a peer note taker. Well, in some classes, students aren't going to need that because you know, the professor provides their notes online or PowerPoint, and they just don't need that. But if the student wants it, and it is something that we are providing, the professor has to provide that for the student. And if the student isn't getting that, the student can reach out to me, and I will intervene and find out what's going on, where there was a miscommunication. If a professor feels it fundamentally alters something essential to the course, they can reach out to me and talk with me about that, and we will get that taken care of. Do students get the same accommodations in high school, or do we need to requalify when starting college? You requalify. We do require medical documentation of the disability, not just these are the accommodations I receive. Many of the accommodations that were in high school do carry over to college. Our K through 12 special education professionals are doing a very good job of that. There may be some that are not. For example, an accommodation that somebody might get in high school would be to answer every other exam, every other question on a math exam. We are not able to do that at the college level. Others might be, reading a basic language math book or textbook. We don't have that at this level, but most of those accommodations will carry over. The key thing is to reach out to me, and we can talk about that and address the student's needs. Our desire is to remove the disability as the impact of the disability on oh, perfect, thank you, on the student when it comes to their academics. And we do have up there our website that has all the information that you need on getting started, getting established with us. The application is online. You can upload the documentation online, and then I reach out and set up a Zoom meeting, and we finalize everything.
Hey, Scott, I just kind of wanted to jump in on Laura's first question about how do we encourage our students. And
Yep.
one of the things that I always try and do with my daughter, who's now a freshman, is try to get her to grasp the idea that there's a transition from high school to college, whereas high school is more a must. It's something that you have to do that you don't really have much say in. Whereas when you go to college, it's different. You know, you are more of a consumer and you're purchasing a product, and trying to get your child to understand that what's taking place is an investment and they're investing in an education. And that not only do they have the right, there's an expectation that they will ask questions and that they will seek out help for their professors, because, you know, the nuts and bolts of it is they, you know, our students provide us with an income, and we not only have a strong desire to make sure they're successful, we also must make sure that they're successful. So if they look at their education, you know, from a consumer standpoint, and understand that you not only are they or you guys are investing money and time, but their effort is part of that investment, and that we are committed, and we should be responding. So if they look at it like they're going to buy a hamburger, so to speak, then they'll realize that if they don't want mustard on their hamburger, they're going to tell someone they don't want mustard. And if they want, you know, lettuce on the hamburger, they're going to ask for it. It's the same way with education. If you want a tutoring session, or if you need an explanation from your instructors, you should ask, because it's an investment that you're making. So I really push my daughter to try and transition her mind to more of a consumer mind when she thinks about her education.
And I would add to that that's an incredibly powerful life skill and lesson that, you know, Obi, that you're sharing about, or what you could instill in your you know, adult child to advocate for themselves, to identify what they need and ask for it, because that's going to extend way past college, right? And this is really about that transition time of them finding those needs within themselves and asking for them, instead of that being driven by parents.
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
That advocacy
Scott?
piece is so good. Sorry. I just was
Oh,
saying
that's
that
okay.
advocacy piece is so key. So thank you all. Amazing. Sorry, I was just preach. So
That's
go
great.
ahead.
No, yeah, that's okay. Scott, I wanted to give you the out here if you needed to go.
Yeah,
any questions people might have, they can
you know,
get a hold of you.
if there are any questions that we haven't, for me, that we haven't addressed, Kim will post the information to reach out to me. And feel free to do that. I mean, you know, I'm happy to answer questions. I know that our process can be, we make it as streamlined as possible, but there are maybe a lot of questions up front before committing to it. And so we're open to that. But thank you all for your time, and I appreciate it, and look forward to working with you if you need our services. Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, bye-bye.
And just a little tag on to Laura's question about the student. Having been an adjunct professor and instructor, I always tell my students at the beginning, it's so much easier for me to help you in the beginning when I know you're struggling than it is to help you at the end when the whole semester's gone by and, you know, your grade is failing, or there's some big barriers. And so I always encourage my students in the beginning, let me know you're struggling, let me know what you need, and I'm much more able to help you now than if you really put things off to the end. And so another encouragement for them, like Carolyn and Obi were saying, to just really step up and ask for what they need. So Carolyn, when you want to go ahead and kind of share about counseling services then, and well, I think we can just kind of take questions as we go then too with you.
Sure, I can give just a real brief summary of our services. It sounds like Kim's going to put the website information and my contact information up there. So check out the website. Everything in terms of our services is there. And I'll also just add right now, if you have questions or want to talk to somebody directly, I welcome you to call or email me directly with whatever you need. So counseling services, we provide individual, couples and group therapy to UMKC students. All of our group and workshop services are free and unlimited. Individual therapy and couples therapy, folks receive 8 free sessions per academic year. That starts August 1st and runs through the end of July. After those 8 free sessions are $15 a piece, and students can pay for that either with cash or being able to charge to their student account. We have a diverse staff in terms of our backgrounds and our identities and how we like to work. So we do a really good job of trying to get an idea of what's bringing a student in and matching them to someone who's really going to help them explore what they are wanting to talk about. We also have some services available on our website, some of our workshops and other mindfulness and quick tips, skills, those kinds of things. So lots of content on the website regarding mental health as well. Yeah, so I think I'll transition here kind of regarding what's bringing us all here today. Maybe in typical psychologist fashion, I'm not going to answer the question of how to help your student. What I am going to say is the best way for you to help your student is for you to demonstrate health around your own mental health and care for yourself and advocating for your student to start their own journey of mental healthiness. For those of you who are maybe parents or family of traditional age college students, something that I see come up time and time again is all of this wonderful and understandable excitement and attention on your student who's transitioning to college, transitioning to adulthood, and all of the things that come with that. And all of that, sorry, my technology beeping, all of that is true and appropriate, but I think often what gets missed is that you as the family are also going through a developmental change. And what is it to be a parent of an adult? How does your relationship change? How does how you parent change? We touched on it just for a second, right, with this question of how do I get my kid to advocate for a tutor or to ask questions in class? That's going to be different now than when they were a high school student. And I think parents would greatly benefit from taking time out to sort of ask these questions of what do I want now? What do I want my relationship to look like with my adult child? What do I want my relationship maybe to look like with my partner or my other family members? Maybe I'm going to have a little more time freed up. What do I want my relationship to look like with myself? Maybe with that freed up time, what do I want to change and think about? And ultimately, what that attention to yourself is going to produce is excellent modeling for mental health for your adult child. And the time of telling maybe your kiddo what's up and what your values are and what you're wanting for them is maybe starting to wind down at this age. And now they're really going to look to you to see and to model. And this is how you show them, or this is how you tell them by living it, which can be hard, right? It maybe feels a little less direct, less control for sure, but that's because it's changing, right? You're going through your own developmental change. That's what I would offer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I think that's a point that kind of gets missed, right? It's like the students going through the excitement and going off to college, but where does it sort of leave the family? And I really like this idea of sort of modeling your own mental health and taking care of yourself, whether that's self-care, whether that's seeking out a therapist, whether that's making time, for yourself, whether that's setting boundaries. I think all of that are great ways that parents and family members kind of model some of those self-care pieces, for their adult children. So thank you for that. Did you have any specific questions coming through the chat or the Facebook, Kim, for Carolyn, or anything coming through specifically?
I do not at the moment, but
Okay.
I do think one question that came up in one of the sessions yesterday is, what do I say to my child or to my student when they say, I just don't have time. I don't have time to go to counseling, or I don't have time to do X, Y, and Z. From a counseling and wellness and mental health perspective, or physical health, even OB, feel free. What would you say to that student, to that child, so you can help them? What is the best way to help them?
Yeah, so I think there's a few different ways you can go. One is maybe, and probably the least important, is the logistical piece, right? We do at counseling services often have availability after 5 o'clock for individual clients, couples clients, right? So if time is a problem, that might help. Like I mentioned, we have a great deal of content online, so that's achievable kind of anytime based on the student schedule. We are working almost 100% virtually right now, from intake through all sessions. So maybe time looks a little bit different when you're not having to drive, come to us, that sort of thing, right? You can just sort of find a pocket, an hour, somewhere between classes and that kind of thing. But Kim, when I hear that, I'm not, we can kind of address that logistical piece and challenge it a little bit. But really what I'm hearing is maybe someone's not sure yet. So they may not be ready for therapy, and that's totally okay, right? There may be elements of stigma in the way. So that could be something to explore. Also pieces I think about of like prioritizing mental health. Is mental health important? How can, and lots of our students, right, are balancing class and jobs and family obligations, and like the time thing is like super real. But I think it's important to introduce this idea of maybe it's an hour less of studying, but that hour less of studying is going to pay back with so much that my other time studying is more fruitful, or my ability to be present in class is then more fruitful. My relaxation time with friends is more rich and fruitful. Sometimes by taking something away from somewhere else, we actually get more in return.
I would agree with Carolyn. I think, there's a lot to that, whether it's challenge and transition. And, when folks get overwhelmed, they feel like they don't have time for things. And how do we challenge that thought around mental health and encourage students, to know that mental well-being doesn't mean that you always need an hour with a counselor, but sometimes it's about 10 to 15 minutes of mindfulness training and different things to kind of give them some freedom away from life and those stressors. And some of the issues may be time management and that transition from home when someone has helped them with their schedule. And so, I think it's incumbent upon us, to be sure that we are encouraging students, that we're getting information out on campus. I apologize. I need to quiet this phone.
No worries, no worries. All happens. We're all living in the.
But that we encourage our students to really look at and consider time management skills. But I think the most important piece is finding some balance between these tough school schedules and time for for self. And I think that's Carolyn's point, is that the return on investment can be great even with 10 to 15 minutes a day. And so we have to encourage our students to kind of push that way and try and give back to themselves as much as possible.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too, Obi, thank you, is that, therapy doesn't always look like these very long stretches of several sessions and it goes on and on and on. We have several resources at counseling services, such as our Mind Over Mood group, for example. That's a 3-week workshop that students who might be struggling with anxiety, might be struggling with a little bit of depression, might be struggling with feeling overwhelmed, they can sign up for that through our office, and for 3 weeks, go boom, 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 get some skills that they can really implement in their life. So yeah, I have clients that see me for several sessions. I have clients that sometimes see me for 3 or 4, and we sort of address maybe a particular issue or problem, and then they feel like they've got the tools that they need. So for those of you who have students that you're concerned about, maybe letting them realize that going to counseling, if they may have some sort of preconceived notions about what that looks like, really it can look a lot like sort of problem solving, and it can look a lot like getting some of those skills you need, like Obi mentioned, mindfulness skills. It very much can look like that. It doesn't necessarily have to fit some sort of stereotype that this means I'm committing for a year of sort of self-analysis or whatever. So yeah, so thank you all. Are there any specific?
For some reason you are muted. Sorry, here, unmute yourself there.
Oh, technology. We're all just learning as we go, living the dream. Just wanted to open it up for any more specific questions for Carolyn, and if not, we can move on to Obi.
I don't see anything in the chat. Can you all just really briefly, though, just given counseling, can you talk about Sanvello just as a resource for our that parents and families can know about, and maybe we talk about time, that might be something interesting to mention?
Yeah, Sanvello is a digital app that you just put on your phone that was developed to provide sort of on-the-go support for mental health. And I know it has some meditations on there. It has some little skills that you can do in terms of being able to sort of challenge your thoughts or engage in some sort of relaxation. And that app, UMKC made available to all faculty, staff, and students to be able to download onto their phone for free. And it's something that we definitely encourage students to do that can help them, again, with kind of managing their mood and managing their mental health throughout the day. And some students have found that that's enough for them. They find that it gives them sort of some tips and some skills and some pauses during the day to kind of work on their mental health. And for others, it maybe even helps them highlight, oh, okay, that was kind of helpful, but I really feel like I've got some things I need to really talk out with someone. So it's totally free. It just takes, however long it takes, 10 seconds to download an app. And it can definitely be a really good support for your mental health.
Thank you.
Okay, so Obi, why don't you go ahead and kind of talk from the physical health standpoint then?
Okay, great. Well, I'll just kind of reintroduce myself as Director of Student Health and Wellness. We're located at 5110, where are we? Oak, directly across from the admin building, Suite 237. I did put our website, the link to our website on the chat, so you guys can get to that from there. It has phone contact information and all that. So first, I want to talk about what we do outside of the typical thought of mental health and why we're truly here. Most folks would naturally assume that we're here to take care of your students when they have an illness, but the true mission of student health is to make sure that your students graduate and that they have the ability to do what they need to graduate. And so we have the mindset of it's our job to get students back to the study table, to keep students in the classroom, to keep them safe and away from infectious disease, so that all this turns into a situation where students walk out in 4 or 5 years with a degree. So we really are invested in the students from that standpoint. We try and make sure that we collaborate with counseling so that, not only, if a student comes in for a respiratory illness, then we're then also looking at their mental health and trying to figure out how they're doing in terms of their transition to college and managing the stress of college. And, do we need to try and get you some resources so that once I get you past this code, you're also then dealing with time management or the loss of a partner or the inability to talk to an instructor about a paper, or the fact that you got your first C when you've never had a C before, and how do you overcome those things? So, we're really invested in your students from that way. But what do? We provide acute and chronic care for your students, whether they have a respiratory illness or they come to school with diabetes or any of those things. We're staffed with 4 nurse practitioners. We have a physician that comes in twice a month. We're able to do lab work for your students and office procedures and women's health and everything that you would typically get done at your primary care office. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that in terms of our services and encourage you to use the link to services. But I think what I want to say today is, just like everybody said, we are kind of in this special time for being a university student where you don't get to socialize as much with your peers, where you can't hang out on campus and have the fun that you associate with college while you get your degree. And all that's really pretty stressful. And so some of the things that we're really encouraging the students to do, because a lot of them are isolated in the sense that they're either at home, still dealing with parents, and attempting to take classes online, or they're here living in the dorms and not able to really associate. And so some of the things that I'm really encouraging students to do is exercise, exercise, exercise. And that means either walking or going to the gym and lifting weights or going dancing or whatever it takes to move your body and allow your mind to have some time away from school. You know, soak up the beautiful air when you can, because socialization looks very different now. And so sometimes just getting out and walking down the street where there are other people that can sometimes take place of the socialization that we're missing from board games and different things like that. Sleep, you know, encourage your students to sleep. There's so many benefits from, you know, getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And so I'd encourage that you push them that way. Smile when they can, even though we can't see their smiles, but, you know, we're assuming by the raising of the eyebrows that people are smiling behind their masks. So do that. Encourage your kids to stay on task, because procrastination really gets to be a huge source of anxiety for our students, especially our freshmen, when they're trying to deal with the difficulty of school and they procrastinated to an event. And my daughter, I get a text every week on Tuesday, because her assignments are usually due on Wednesday in her psych class. And I get the text that she's ready to quit college. We get through Thursday, she's good to go. But we always have that procrastination destination that she has every week. And so encourage your kids to eat healthy as much as possible and just do what they can to try and keep their environment as normal as they can be. As student health, we're available constantly. We don't have as many students on campus, so we have tons and tons of availability to get your students in. We are fielding calls for physical health. We are trying to answer all the calls we can for your students in relation to COVID concerns and are the classrooms safe and things of that nature. And I can tell you that we've been working on COVID since the beginning of the year and returning our campus to an environment that's extremely safe. We are very blessed that our numbers are really, really low. The chances that a student, faculty, or staff will get COVID on campus is extremely low, because the campus is social distance and people wear masks, and the leadership of the campus has just really worked hard to make this environment safe. So the thing I would say is encourage your students then when they leave campus to still consider some of that social distancing thing, so that and we're finding that most of our cases are occurring when students leave campus and congregate and not social distance and not mask. So just encourage your students. We're working really hard. We want them to stay here. We love having them here. We love being here. So yeah, we're just pushing to keep our environment safe. I'm just going to keep it brief and answer any questions that you guys may have.
I am not seeing anything yet in the chat. I do know, and I could have spaced for a moment. Can you talk for a second about flu shots?
Oh yeah, thank you.
Just because I think that was a question that has come up in the Facebook group, and some families have asked about it before.
Yeah, thank you very much. We have lots and lots and lots of flu vaccinations. Students can go online, or they can call the student health clinic and make appointments to get flu shots. Unfortunately, we don't accept insurance, so students will have to pay $20 for the shots, and they can do that with cash check, or they can apply it to their student account. Some students will come in, and if they have a service that they pay for here at the clinic, they will then take a reimbursement form and send it to their insurance and get reimbursed for activities that way. But yeah, we are pushing flu shots heavily, encouraging our students to come in and get them, and we have lots and lots of flu shots available. And again, access to the clinic is really easy to do right now. At most, students may have to wait 24 hours to get in. So we get them in, we get them right out. We are not like a typical primary care office. We have the luxury of, our waiting time being somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. So students come and go very quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think Kim, you said you were going to put some information in the chat or put it out on Facebook Live, how to contact each of us. So, okay. Any other questions for any of us out there? It's always very weird for me to talk to people that I can't see. So, but okay.
I don't see anything coming through on the chat currently.
Okay.
I did put all the links right now, and then I'll add some contact information also. Like we mentioned, this is on Facebook Live, so you can kind of watch it on demand. And we definitely strongly encourage folks to take advantage of these resources and to really what resonated for me today was the advocacy piece. Your students, it's a new skill to advocate for themselves. So just figuring sorry, I wasn't spotlighting myself, just to kind of figure out how that can happen. And we'll have some more sessions this week that will probably continue to talk about strategies around helping your students have those advocacy skills and to ask questions and to know where the resources are. They definitely exist. We do have faculty, staff, student leaders, et cetera, that are here to support your students. Sometimes though, it just takes that extra nudge for them to email or for them to pick up the phone and call. And so even tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll have a Rue Ready room with Dr. Tammy Welchert. She'll probably be talking about some of the similar things, but just from an academic advisor standpoint. And throughout the week with academic support and mentoring, with Teresa will have you probably end by just talking about your breakfast and breathe on Friday and some cool ways. And then also on Saturday, I'm doing a promoting independence through thinking about this really fun philosophy called stop, drop, and roll, which isn't what we learned when we're growing up. It's actually a model of thinking about parental support and helping your student with gaining those advocacy skills.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. Yeah, I'll just mention for the audience that this Friday at 9, I'm going to do something called Breakfast and Breathe. And basically it's just going to be a half hour that people can take out of their morning to engage in some deep breathing exercises with me. We'll do kind of a mindful meditation. We'll talk a little bit about why those things are helpful. What does deep breathing and meditation have to do with how my mood is during the day? We can talk a little bit about that. And that's open to any parents and family that want to come, and you can bring your student too. So if you're all hanging out having morning coffee on Friday and want to do a little mindfulness together, you can jump on and join me.
Excellent. Well, just thank you so much for our panelists today. Any last words before we end from any of our fantastic folks here?
I just wanted to say thanks, Kim, for giving us this platform. I really appreciate it, and appreciate each one of my colleagues coming forth with such great information. So.
And I'm just going to quickly spotlight them. So again, you can see at the end here, again, Scott had to run off, but Scott works with disability services. Obi is now spotlighted. Say hey. With student health and wellness. Carolyn Pepper with counseling services, and Teresa with all the things, but with counseling services and with outreach. And really, these folks are some of the most amazing people I get to work with in my everyday, and we want to be here to help your students and help you. So I am going to log us off, Rue up friends, and we'll see you, and I'm just going to stop the live stream.